Oftentimes, we'll have clients send us spreadsheets like this one and say, hey, can you ship a new hire kit to everybody on this spreadsheet? And maybe you get a spreadsheet like that every week. And when that arrives, one of your teammates goes to ShipStation and enters all of that information from the spreadsheet into this form. There is a better way. We can use Zapier to automate this process. And in this extremely unscripted video, I am going to show you how to do it in real time. So again, let's take a look at our spreadsheet. We have everything we need here to get these orders created in ShipStation, with the exception of a SKU. In this example, we're going to assume that all of these folks are getting the same product, like a new hire kit or a thank you gift. So to do this, I am going to go to Zapier, and if you're following along, you'll want to click on Create and then choose Zaps. Let's go ahead and give this one a name. We'll call it CSV to ShipStation. And we'll define our trigger. And there's a number of ways that you can get this information into Zapier for it to then put into ShipStation. But for use cases like this, I like to stick with email as the trigger because we are going to receive this CSV in an email from our client. And then I just want to forward that to another email address at Zapier and have it done for me. So our trigger is emailed by Zapier. Our trigger event will be new inbound email. And the next thing I need to do is define an email address for this. Zapier already fills out some of this for you. We just need to define the front end of that. So let's call it ShipStation. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this and click continue. And so now Zapier is waiting for an email. It would like to actually have that email with that attachment so that we can start building this out. So I'm going to download this as a CSV. And then off screen here, I am going to email this to that new Zapier email address. Okay, now that I've sent that CSV to this email address here, I'm going to click on Test Trigger. And you'll see we've got a new record. If I click that, I can see all kinds of information about that email. We don't need to look at all of it right now. We'll just continue with this selected record. And now it's asking me what action I want to take next. And I actually need to use Files by Zapier. And it's this first one here. And the action event will be line items from CSV. Now I need to define where that CSV file is. If I click this plus icon here and I look in the step 1 trigger, we will find the attachment right here. And it does have a header row, and it is comma delimited by default. Let's click continue and test this step. And you can see we have our line items here, all the information from that spreadsheet. Now that we have those line items, I can create a new action. And what we need to do next is loop over each of those line items. Basically, that means we're going to create a process where for each row, it's going to do the same thing. Okay. So we are going to look for loop, and it's this looping action right here. Our action event will be create loop from line items. And now we need to define the values to loop. And you can think of these as every column in your spreadsheet. So we'll start with first name. And we are going to go to our step 2, where we've created the line items from that CSV, and we're going to pick line items first name. We'll do the same for last name. And email. The street 1. Street 2. City. State. Zip code. And finally, country. Okay, so now that we've defined the items that we're going to be looping over, we can keep this trim whitespace as true. The loop iteration count can stay at 1. The maximum number of loop interactions can stay at 500. And in fact, there is a limit on how many loop iterations you can do. So your spreadsheet can have no more than 500 rows. If you do have one with more than that, consider splitting it up. Let's click continue and test this step. And it's actually going to show us loop iteration 1, and we can see it's got all that information just on that first row. And now we need to define the actions that are going to be taken for each of those. So underneath your looping by Zapier step, add a new one. And we'll choose ShipStation. Our action event will be create order. And I actually need to connect a new ShipStation account. So Zapier is going to ask us for an API key and API secret from ShipStation. And to get that, you can click on the gear icon in ShipStation, choose V1 API, and generate those keys. And you'll get your API key, which we can paste here, and your API secret, which we'll paste here. And now if we go back to Zapier, we'll see that we have our account set up. We can click continue and start mapping our fields. Choose your ShipStation store. It is going to require an order number. And so what we might want to do is create an order number. Okay, friends, honestly, when I started this recording, I was not expecting to have to provide an order number and a unique ID. That does complicate things a little bit. I was hoping that ShipStation would generate those for us, but it won't. So here are what your options are. If you are in this situation, you can either create an order number and unique ID for each of these runs, or if you want to include an order number and unique ID in your CSV, you could. I think in this case, though, every time one of these rows runs, we're going to generate these ad hoc. So here's how we're going to do it. Zapier has a feature where you can insert a timestamp into your fields. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to copy this. This timestamp is Unix formatted. It looks kind of weird, but that's okay because we're only using it for an ID. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to use that timestamp as our order ID and our unique ID. In this case, these will be unique every time it runs because the timestamp is going to be different every time. So with my order number and my unique ID defined, let's keep going. For the order date, we're actually going to use that same technique to insert the order date. And we can do that by using this here, Zap Meta Human Now. So I'll type that in there. Okay, now we're going to start using the values from our line items. So first, let's get the buyer name in here. And we'll do that by selecting step 3, and we want to select the first name, not the preview, but the actual first name. There we go. And let's give a space and then just click on last name. That way we've created the full name here in this field. For buyer email, we'll map the email address. For the recipient name, we'll do the same thing as we did for buyer name. So it'll be first name, space, last name. And we can map in recipient address line 1. Again, we're getting all of this from step 3. So I'm looking for street 1. Here we go. We'll do the same for street 2. And the city. And the state. Zip code. And country. Okay. If we scroll down a bit, we get to this section here where we can map in the items. Now remember, we're assuming that everybody on this CSV is going to get the same SKU. So we'll just put in the SKU like so. We'll give it a name like new hire gift. They're getting one of those, and we won't put a price. Okay, looks like I'm missing a field here because I can't yet continue. So let's scroll up, make sure we got everything. Ah, order status. This is going to be awaiting shipment. Great, now we can continue. And let's test this step. And Zapier tells us an order was sent to ShipStation. So let's go over to ShipStation, click on orders, and you can see we have our order here. There's that ID that we used. That's the Unix timestamp. And we've got our ship to information. We've got our new hire gift. And now this is ready for somebody to ship. Because this has worked, I am going to go back to Zapier and publish this Zap. And with this Zap published, I'm going to resend that CSV and show you what that looks like as it runs. So to do that, let me grab that email address again. So I've just sent that email. I'm going to click on the Zap Runs button here, and we'll give it just a few seconds and we'll refresh. Cool. So you can see right now we've got a bunch of runs. And if we go back to ShipStation and click on orders, there we go. We have all of our orders. It was that fast. Pay no attention to the little warning here. These are fake addresses, so it's giving an invalid address. And that is a complete look at how you can use Zapier to forward CSVs to a special email address and have those automatically imported into ShipStation. Let's take a look at the ROI involved in an automation like this. So imagine you have one employee, and that employee's total compensation comes out to $45 an hour. And maybe they get a CSV like this from their client every week. They might, on average, spend 1 hour every week on this task. Well, you've just automated that task. And so over the course of the year, you could expect about $2,000 plus in annual savings when you consider the compensation for that employee. And you've given that employee 50 hours per year to work on other tasks other than copying and pasting stuff from a spreadsheet into ShipStation. I hope that you found this helpful. Maybe it will inspire you to build a similar Zap. If you have any trouble, please do reach out to PromoPilot. You can find us at promopilot.io. And I look forward to seeing what you automate next. Take care.